sharing. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm a geriatric social worker, and I'm here part of the team with CME. And I'm going to be speaking today about culture and values in the relationship with the elderly patient, assuming that most of you will be caring for elderly patients. Firstly, I want to welcome you to our caregiving community here in Israel. Very brave of you all to come, leave your home, your family, your country, your culture, and embark on this adventure and care for other people's old people. You know, this is a very noble deed that you're all doing. And I commend you for it, and I welcome you to be part of our caregiving community here. And what we're going to be doing, actually, this whole program that we have already prepared and are implementing is for you. The idea is that we care for the caregivers, and we want to give you an opportunity during this time of in-between time, you know, that you're in isolation, so to speak, to relax, have a good time, you know, kind of get adjusted to the different time zone, and to, you know, be a little bit more introspective about things that are going to be part of your everyday work routine and an emotional routine and so on. And so basically, what we're going to be doing for the next hour and a half or so is I'm going to talk about culture and values. As I said, we're going to have like a 5-minute break, and we're, you know, we're going to open the chat for you to participate, and hopefully you will. And it's for everyone's benefit, mainly yours, all of you as a group have an opportunity to interact with each other and learn from each other. And this is the purpose, you know, of our Zoom session today and for the next couple of days as well. So let me begin. Okay, culture and values in the relationship with the elderly patient. Okay, basic values in caregiving work. I assume that you've all had some kind of experience in caregiving, and every culture has values in terms of caregiving and in life in general. And I'm sure that most of them are universal, same in most cultures. So let's kind of think about what they may be for all of us. What are the basic values in caregiving work? Well, human dignity, autonomy, tolerance, empathy, compassion, and all of that is care. So I'd like to talk a little bit more in detail about each one of those and what it entails in our caregiving work. What do these values mean in caregiving work? Well, let's talk about human dignity, a value that refers to a person's unique trait as a person. Dignity is the right of a person to be valued or respected for their own sake and to be treated ethically. Respect your patient's humanity, privacy, his thoughts, his feelings, his opinions, his beliefs, and of course, his body. Maintain your patient's privacy and dignity. Well, I just want to talk about the fact that, you know, you're going to be entering as a stranger from a strange country, speaking a strange language, looking like a stranger, smelling like a stranger, behaving like a stranger, into a person's home that, you know, as much as you are a stranger to him, he's a stranger to you, obviously, as well. And he's in a crisis. You are too. You know, it's kind of stressful, the situation that everyone is in. But you must realize that he's in a stressful situation, not just because you're entering his home, but this is probably the lowest point in his life so far, when a person has made a decision, him and his family, or, you know, whoever's involved in the decision making, to bring a caregiver into the home. It is a crisis time in his life. Okay, this is probably the lowest point so far, when a person has to come to grips with the idea that he is no longer independent and will not be more independent in the future. And so for someone to care for his, bodily functions and daily activities and so on is a very degrading situation for anyone and everyone, no matter what culture they're from. Okay. And so you must be, attuned to how stressful this whole situation is. Okay. For your employer, even if you are not the first person that has maintained this position, each stranger is again an affirmation of what he can't do, what he is no longer, what circles he's no longer in charge of in terms of his life circles, his family, his work, his community, his friends. He's no longer most likely no longer a contributing factor in all of those circles. And that is a very degrading position to be in for any person, okay, to be disabled and to need the assistance and help of one's surroundings. So first thing that you must be minded is to be very gentle and slow, okay, gentle and slow, and very observant about everything that's going on in the family, in the house, in the in your employer's vicinity, and so on. Don't move things, don't change things, ask a lot of questions, try to get to know your employer and his family, their background, their stories, walk around the house, ask, what are the pictures, who are the people in the, not the first minute, but within the first session of your interaction with your employer. You want to know as much about them as possible and minimize your own intervention, okay? Until they trust you, until they feel that you're part of the rhythm of the house, okay? Very important, okay? You want to talk about his privacy, first of all, no taking any photographs of your employer or his family, even if they consent, okay? You don't know about him is enough to know if he's able to consent, if he understands where the pictures are going, and so on and so forth. No taking pictures, no talking about names of people. You must respect your employer's privacy, his entire family's privacy, okay? And of course, his body. And when you approach someone, you tell them what you're going to do. You be very gentle and soft-spoken, right? All of those things are helpful in maintaining your employer's dignity, okay? To be kind of less than more is probably the best attitude to attain in the beginning. And again, autonomy. Autonomy is the capacity to make an informed and uncoerced decision, self-directing freedom, especially moral independence. Give your patient the right to choose what he prefers to do, where he wants to go, and allow him to make as many decisions on his own as possible. So again, this is the general attitude, okay? You must ask them what they want, how they like it, when they want to go out, what they want to wear, what they want to eat, even if the answer is always the same, or if there is no answer at all. You must always ask, okay? Just being asked and allowing a person to, to contemplate or to give an answer, whatever it may be, is a very respectful thing to do, okay? It allows a person to feel that he has some kind of control over the smallest part of his everyday life. And that's very important to maintain a person's autonomy and his well-being as well. And, only if you think that he's totally demented and unable to make decisions about, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what's good for him, and so on, then of course you can do something else contrary to what he asks. But still, you must try to maintain and respect whatever it is that he asks and ask him what they like and what they do. I want to also suggest that you find out as soon as possible what are the things that make your employer happy, comfortable, feel safe, and so on. Because like I said, you're entering at a point in his life where his deterioration may change quickly, and then he won't be able to tell you, and then you won't know how to handle, the situation. And part of your responsibility, obviously, is also not only to care for his physical, presence and body and so on, but we all know that body and mind are one. And so you want to know what makes him feel comfortable, what smells, touching him, not touching him, what sounds, what music, what atmosphere, what he likes to do and see, and so on and so forth. So all of those things, you're on a journey to find out every little detail about your employer's, life in order for you to be a better caregiver. Those are all tools of your, of your profession. We like to think that our personality, the more sensitive we are, the better attuned we are, the more, the better listeners we are. All of those things are part of our toolbox in the caregiving business, right? So in the beginning, it's very important that you kind of collect all this information that will be useful to you in the, in the days and months and so on in the future. Give your patient the right to choose what he prefers to do, where he wants to go, and allow him to make as many decisions as possible during the day. Tolerance, 5 stars next to the word tolerance. We all know toleration is allowing and permitting or acceptance of an action, idea, object, or a person which one can sometimes dislike or disagree with. Be tolerant of your patient and give yourself time to get to know each other, even if you don't agree with him. Sometimes always respect him. So I think being tolerant is very obvious and very important. I hope you do as well. And we all have some kind of, preconceived notions about how old people are, about how Israelis are, about how Jewish people are, Middle Eastern people are, and so forth. And of course, the other end, they have preconceived notions about live-in caregivers, Filipinos, women, young people, old people. Everybody has some kind of preconceived notion about what the people around us are all about, based on things that we've heard, things that we've experienced, or maybe not. Okay, very important to leave those aside and take the time and energy in order to find out who your employer is. You have to know that in Israel is a country of many, many immigrants. It's a young country, and most people have immigrated from someplace else. So being a stranger in a strange place is something that they've most likely experienced in the past. And they speak many, many languages at home: Arabic, French, Dutch, English, Russian, Ethiopian, Spanish, all from all continents and countries of the world, people have immigrated to Israel. And so, even if they don't speak English, you may have to be able to learn language that they speak at home, and perhaps Hebrew as well. And so you have to be very sensitive to, the cultural milieu of the particular family that you're caring for. And you also have to know that Israelis are very much like Filipinos in the sense that they're very family oriented. And most likely there is a family involved, and you're going to be part of the team that's going to be caring for this individual, whether it's a father, a mother, a husband, a wife, or whatever. And so it's very important that you also relate to the family. Find out, is there a family WhatsApp or Viber group? Join and take the initiative to find out who are the other people in the group, who are your employer's friends, who are the grandchildren and children. Make a list of all their telephones. Be proactive in allowing your employer to be as involved as possible. And also, don't wait for them to call. You make the call. You make the report. Once a week, we had a good week. We had a difficult week. It was this, it was that. Be proactive in projecting his place, his presence in whatever circles that he is involved in. Empathy. Okay. I'm assuming that if you've chosen this line of work and have made this big commitment to come all the way across the world, you have an enormous amount of empathy as already built into part of your personality. Otherwise, I don't know if you could probably do this kind of job. This is not a job that everyone can do. You know that already. We're not technicians, we're not drivers, we are caregivers. And without empathy, I don't know if people can actually do this job. So, what is empathy? Empathy is the capacity to understand or feel what another person is experiencing from within his frame of reference. That is the capacity to place oneself in another person's position. A definition of empathy encompasses a broad range of emotional states. Try to empathize with your patient's physical and emotional condition. And again, you can only empathize if you know the person. In the beginning, they're strangers, right? So you don't know. Maybe you know a little bit about their medical situation, with medicine, with diseases, and you can try to understand if they're in pain and discomfort and stress, perhaps. But you need to invest in getting to know your employer, right? So even though he may not necessarily be using words, but you can, by knowing his body gestures and his facial expressions and so on, you can already know how to empathize whatever is going on with him. And of course, you can only empathize emotionally and psychologically with what's going on with him if you know him better and you form a good relationship. So all of that is a process, and you must be very patient and also very focused, okay? Very focused on allowing that to happen. Compassion. Like empathy, it has to be part of you already. Otherwise, I think people can improve on empathy and compassion, but it's got to be a big part of you, who you are already. Otherwise, you can't really do the job. So what is compassion? Sympathetic pity and concern for the suffering and misfortune of others. Compassion motivates people to go out of their way to help the physical, the mental, the emotional pains of another and themselves. Okay, so you've made a big a big step in going out of your way to care for other people's emotions and disabilities, and you are to be commended for that. Absolutely. All of that is part of care. The provision of what is necessary for the health, welfare, and maintenance and protection of someone or something. And of course, you know that, the family is putting in your hands the care and the welfare and the maintenance and protection of someone that they love. And that requires a lot of trust, okay? So at first, don't be offended if they don't trust you because they don't know you, right? So in the beginning, this is a very normal way to get to know people, right? They kind of put you to the test, and they, whatever test, you also put people to the test when you have to trust them and you don't know them well enough. And it's a process. It really is a process. And you must be patient with your employer and his family, and of course with yourself. They need to trust you and you need to trust them, right? And so you have to build this kind of a relationship. Protecting your employer is going to be part of the job as well. And so you're going to have to know what's in the house, what's not in the house, outside of the house, where to take him, where to go. It's a whole process of getting to learn so many different circles around your employer, what his needs are, where he's situated, where are the medical facilities that he may need to, where this shopping, cleaning, all of those activities that may be part of your everyday schedule. So we'll take a minute, and I'd like to invite you to open up your mics and cameras and participate. What, in your opinion, is the most important value of caregiving work? And are any other values that you believe that are important for caregiving work that perhaps I haven't mentioned yet? Would anyone like to comment or share about an experience in caregiving work, perhaps outside of the Philippines, if anyone has had that kind of an experience before? Who's there? Ramones and Grace? Is that you,
Yeah.
ladies? Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I see a big group of ladies there.
Oh, yeah.
Any of you like to share an experience or perhaps relate to what I've asked, what other values there are? Have any of you worked outside of the Philippines before?
Oh, yeah. For
Wait, can't hear you in a minute. Go ahead.
the core.
Can you speak closer to the mic? Because we can't hear you. Can you come closer to the microphone?
Okay. Sorry.
Yes.
The value that I have acquired from the EAR facility is that to take care or care for your patient, especially the elderly, because sometimes they lack of a family attention, and they really need an attention of how you care and love them.
Okay. So loving them and caring for them is part of investing yourself in your work. That's an important value. Thank you. Where have you worked before? Are you Ramona?
Yes, ma'am.
Where have you worked
I've
before?
worked more than on-the-job training. It's
an elderly facility in the Philippines?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what about your friends there? Has anyone there worked abroad before?
No.
This is your first time. Okay.
It's
wow.
actually a mixed condition. We have a paralyzed there. They have sometimes a mental problem. So we encountered that one.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else? I saw another hand.
That would be me, ma'am.
Hi. Hi, Angelo.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I think what I can share about this discussion is, aside from the compassion that you do have as a caregiver, you must also have the flexibility and adaptability on yourself. Is because you just don't know these people in just one snap of a hand. You just don't know their personality with just a minute of them looking at it. That's the reason why you have to have the flexibility and adaptability in yourself, is because you can adjust yourself. You must adjust yourself from the way they talk, the way their beliefs, the way they control themselves, the way they act. You must learn to be adaptable and flexible at all times. And when it comes to together with compassion, as we say, is because it's not just only doing the job that you have, but you have to extend and exceed the expectations that they do have upon you reaching at their home, so that at least they can be feel that they are valued, not just knowing that they are your patient or they are the elderly that you are working for, but you have to adapt yourself that you're one of the family members, and to show compassion and to show that you care and love for them as well. I think that would be the most um, that's the most important thing whenever you reach their home or you step first thing in their doorstep. So I think that would be it, ma'am, for me.
Wow, thank you. Wow, that's such a big deal. So, you're so aware of that. Being flexible, absolutely. That is such an
Indeed.
very important to be flexible and observant, so that you can, adjust yourself to,
That is right.
like the rhythm, the pattern, the needs. And as yourself, in order, for a person to feel valued, they have to feel that they have that one-on-one connection.
Exactly. That's true.
People, lose the sense of value to their life when they kind of disconnect from all the different cycles, like family, friends. They're not influenced. But if you keep a one-to-one connection, people feel valued. Thank you. That is so important. Thank you
Welcome.
for sharing that. Have you worked abroad before, Angelo?
No, ma'am, but I actually work in the Philippines as one of the senior caregivers in a facility where it has 24 bed capacity. So I would just want to just want to share the experience that 24 bed capacity, meaning there would be 24 different elderly with 24 different cases and different status in life, and 24 different attitudes. There are some dementia patients, there are some Alzheimer's patients. So that's a good thing that you really have to be flexible enough so that you can adjust whatever the situation that they do have in mind in that day. Because especially dementia patients and Alzheimer's, they do change every now and then, not just by minute, not just only by hour, by day, but it changes every time, every now and then. That's why it is very important that you do have really a flexibility attitude, is because you really wanted to, whenever they change attitude or they do have some change of moods, then at least you can adapt and you can compensate on what they are doing as well. I think that's one of the important thing.
Well, good for you, Angelo. Your experience in caring for elderly dementia patients is going to be very helpful to you. And
Thank
of
you.
course, not to take it personally if they say things or behave in inappropriate ways. It's the disease talking and not the person, obviously. And that will be very valuable to you. Thank you very much for sharing. But I just
Welcome.
want to
Thank you.
say something that you will probably all know and experience, how difficult it is, the job that you have taken on to yourself. And there is the other dimension of being a live-in caregiver, because no matter how hard your job was and how you invest yourself emotionally and physically in your everyday regular job, you go home and you relax and you kind of, be your own person. But here, not really like that, right? It's home is where is where you work, and work is where home is, and that makes it that much more stressful. So yes, being flexible is very important. Thank you, Angelo. Would
And
somebody
let me
else
add
like?
also,
Yes, please.
let me add also, it should take a lot of patience. A lot of
Patience,
patience,
right?
indeed. Thank you.
Absolutely. Would anyone else like to comment or share an experience? Hi, Raise, Maureen.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, good afternoon to all of you. I need to be odd. We need to be attentiveness and being trustworthy. We need to be an open-minded, so that we can easily cope up with other people and to your patient as well.
Okay. Being open-minded is a wonderful, to be aware of that, because you're going to be experiencing different people. I also want to suggest another, actual value that's important that, I didn't mention before: perseverance. Okay. Very important, perseverance. You're going to be, in challenging situations where, you may feel like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen, or wow, I didn't take that into account, or wow, is this hard? I didn't realize it was going to be, like this or like that. And there will be times where you're going to feel, maybe this is too much. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I'm not in the right place. Maybe, all of those things when it gets really hard. You miss home, or, job is challenging, people are challenging, whatever. I just want you to know that perseverance is a very important trait, right? To be able to, let's just wait till tomorrow kind of thing and see how things work out. Count to 10 before you make any drastic decisions. And also, I wanted to say something about expectations. Sometimes in the beginning, we'll talk in a different time more about expectations, but just, along with perseverance, not to give up if things become difficult. And of course, it doesn't mean that you need to be in a situation where you feel that you're being abused, you're being taken advantage of, you're, not getting, what you were promised or whatever. That is not the same thing, right? That's not the same thing. I'm talking about, in the beginning, perhaps the family will expect you or ask you to take the job of 6 people, right? Be the gardener, be the housekeeper, be the caregiver, be the cook, be the cleaner, be the, I don't know what else, the driver, the the person that entertains, many, many different things. And perhaps most of those things are not possible for one person to do or for you to do. And perhaps some of them are and some of them aren't. And I think just what I want to say is that in the beginning, everybody has, all different kinds of ideas of what's going to be and how it's going to be. So don't be overwhelmed. So you have to wait and say, we'll try and we'll see how it goes. And if it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you just have to, allow yourself the opportunity to see if you can do certain things. Okay. And if you can't do, you can't do. There's always, not everybody can do everything, obviously. And so it takes a time to adjust, and you have to be patient with yourself. And I just want to say that it's very stressful in the beginning. Obviously, everybody has expectations and so on. But everybody gets used very fast to good things. So if you're good, if you're true, if you're honest, if you're smiling, got to smile a lot, right? Got to smile a lot. Got to present yourself at the best, like every other job, right? Make a good impression at the beginning and smile a lot. Yeah, to good things people get used to very fast. Got a new phone recently, get used to it very fast. Minute or two, an hour or two, it's kind of stressful till you learn how to manipulate it and how to work it. But it's got all the different, features that you need and you want, and you get used to it very fast. So to good things, we all get used to very fast. But you have to kind of go through the intermediary situation, right? Of learning what's what and who's who. Would anyone else like to comment or share about something that they're thinking about or an experience they've had abroad? Has anyone been abroad before? In a working, not as a tourist, but as a working situation, learning a different language, being in a different culture. Anyone? Maureen, you're not smiling. You gotta smile. Every day, most of the day.
So and a little more than 80 participants right
Wow,
now
big group
in
today.
our meeting.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Yes, Anat? Sorry, go ahead.
No one had an experience as working abroad, not necessarily in caregiving. No one.
No one that wants to share. Maybe there are some people. People are shy.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if not, welcome to your first time.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Mark. I can see that you raised your hand.
Next subject that I want to talk about, Anat, do you want to say something else or we're continuing?
And Mark just raised his hand.
Okay,
ma'am.
go ahead, Mark.
For me, I will treat them. I will treat the patient like a family. My
Okay.
patient is almost the same age with my grandfather. Also, trying to put myself into his shoe, applying the saying, "Do unto others what you want to do unto you." No. Applying the saying, "Do unto others what do you want them do unto you."
Exactly. We understood that, I think. Right. Exactly. That's a very good way to deal with life always. Absolutely.
And mom, it's possible that even if it is my day off or rest day, my patient is not feeling well, being compassionate and treating like a family, I will prioritize him first.
Good for you. that you're aware of that. And this is all part of the negotiation with the family if they need you or not. Obviously, this is all part of the interaction with your employer and his family. Thank you, Mark. And how about you, Rachel? I see you have a hand up. Would you like to share something?
Yes, hello. Good afternoon to each and everyone. Just to sort of, I just want to add, I've been in Spain, Amsterdam, and Germany, and I was with patient. The best thing that I was there with the patient is first, we are three caregivers, um, two nurses, but he just picked me up because of that you call trust and you can keep a secret. If the patient told the secret of his, even his wife and the others, the saying is, what you see, what you hear, just leave it here. In that room, the two of you, the secret about his or her personality or whatever, but that patient will trust you all of his or her life, so you can hold on this and be sure that you can never tell anyone unless it is dangerous. That is the best that I learned when with my patient. And that's
Wow.
all.
Thank you. Very important value, okay, to have your employer's trust. And his trust means to keep all of his secrets. So, right, absolutely, to keep all of his secrets. Thank you for sharing that. That's very important. Okay, guys. The next subject that I want to present is gender aspect in caregiving work. Okay, so I just want to say a few things about that. In general, Israel is a very modern country and has very modern views on gender. And today in the modern world, we tend to think of gender as, beginning at one end of the spectrum and ending at the other end of the spectrum. And there's perhaps different stations on the road, okay, between being a man or a woman. But I would assume that the elderly families that you're going to be caring for are going to be more traditional in their views of gender and sexuality and so on. But what I want to say is that in general, people are tolerant of all different kinds of gender issues. And the one thing that we do not want to be tolerant of is any disrespect or any crossing of boundaries in terms of sexual harassment, okay? So in any job position, this may occur, if you're working in an office, you're working in a store, whatever it is that you're working, men and women may be exposed to sexual harassment. But in this kind of a situation where you are a foreign caregiver working in a very intimate kind of a situation, that in some ways you're compromised, right? Because you're a foreigner, foreign country, foreign, different culture. We think that there is no reason and no toleration for any kind of harassment, okay? And sometimes the situation may arise where people, perhaps with dementia or without dementia, may approach you in inappropriate manner, okay? Perhaps because you speak gently and you have a gentle touch and you're in intimate situations where you're bathing people, feeding people, interacting with their body in intimate situations that may arouse some kind of an inappropriate approach to you, either you're a man or a woman or whatever. And so we want to say that it is always inappropriate and it is always not to be tolerated, okay? So first of all, you need not be alone with the situation. The first thing you must do is look the person in the eye, straight in the eye, and say, no, this is inappropriate. This is not the intention. The fact that I'm nice and gentle and sweet and smiling and so on is not the intention of having any kind of sexual interaction, and this is not tolerable. And if it's repeated, then you should definitely involve perhaps a husband, a wife, family member, and also, of course, the social worker in the agency and us here at CME. If you think you can handle it by yourself, that's fine, but you need not be alone with any kind of a compromised situation, okay? And it doesn't need to last long, all right? It has to be cut off in the beginning, okay? I just want to stress that you know, that this is not tolerated. Let's see what else I want to say about that. A few facts about gender care. Although most of the caregivers are women, there are also many men who are caregivers, especially when a man needs to be cared for. Some of the female caregivers provide care for a man or live in a home where a man may live, and some of the male caregivers provide care for a woman or live in a home where a woman may live. So of course, you may be caring for a couple, or there may be other family members in the situation, right, involved. We say that families are involved, sometimes a son, whoever, okay? It is not tolerable in any situation. I also want to say that very often, you know, in spite of the fact that you're coming with a pure heart and good intentions, sometimes, you know, people may misinterpret your actions and in a negative way. Sometimes if there's a husband or a wife, they may be jealous. They may, oh, she's pretty, he's looking at her, he's responding to her, he doesn't talk to me, or the other way, you know. It's sometimes without having any intention, some negative emotions or anxiety may arise. Just be mindful of it. And I'm sure that if you're, you know, if you're intelligent, you'll know how to deal with it. But if you don't know how to deal with it, ask for help, okay? These are difficult situations, especially when you're not going home to your own family at the end of the day, right? You have to deal with it on a regular basis. So it must be alleviated from the beginning, okay? No need to tolerate intolerable situations, okay? How does gender contribute to the caregiving relationship? Although women usually take care of children, adults, parents, spouses, and other family members, there are also men who have these abilities. Women naturally have the ability to care for others with empathy, compassion, concern, and love. But men can also have good caregiving abilities, and some men like to take care of their family and work in the care field. Your caregiving qualities are an asset. Be proud of them and use your caregiving abilities to provide good quality care. Okay, be very proud of your caregiving abilities if you're a man or a woman or whatever. Not everyone can do this job, as I've said before. And basically what I want to say is that sometimes, I don't know if anyone knows, that they're going to be cared for a person of the opposite sex, okay? Sometimes a family will ask a woman to care for a man, or a man to care for a woman. I'm assuming that if they are more traditional, you know, like very religious people, they would probably ask a man to care for a man and a woman to care for a woman, but not always, okay? And so it may be challenging. Sometimes perhaps it's a large person that needs more physical strength to attend to. And sometimes it's just the opposite. Men, you know, sometimes we go to a massage parlor and they'll ask you, do you want a man or a woman to massage you? And very often men will say, no, they don't like men touching them. They want a woman to touch them. So it could be, you know, various reasons why a family chooses one gender over another, okay? Gender issues. When treating a man or being close to a patient or a spouse, sexual harassment can occur. It's important to be aware of it. Here are a few tips on how to deal with sexual harassment. Here is a YouTube presentation that you are welcome to check into when you have a few minutes and see if it, you know, you can find helpful tips on how to deal with sexual harassment. And ascend, zero tolerance for sexual harassment, okay? Especially in our country. Okay, so again, I invite you to participate and to share with us if you have any questions or any experiences that you know would like to share. If you've had an experience in dealing with sexual harassment or caring for a man, you know, or of someone of the opposite sex as you, or if you have any questions, do you have any concerns about being a woman or a man as a caregiver? Do you think caregiving work is easier for a woman or for a man, and why? Do you think caregiving will be harder or easier because you're a man or a woman? You're invited to share and ask. Please do. Anyone?
Do any of you have an experience taking care of someone from the opposite sex?
If you didn't hear or not, does anyone have an experience caring for someone of a different sex than themselves that they'd like to share? Even if it wasn't a bad situation, if it was a positive situation.
Yeah, even if it, of course, if it was okay, we would like to hear about the experience and how was it for you?
I may have insight to that. Hi again, it's me.
Angelo, hi.
Yes, hi. All right. So when it comes to the insight for you working, you being a man working in a different gender opposite to you, first, because my previous job is a financial advisor, so I work in a bank, and then I suddenly shifted into a healthcare profession such as this caregiver. So, at first, I've worked in a hospital care, which is the 24 bed capacity, and those are not just purely men, but it's in different. I mean, there are also women. So
Mhm.
first, it was really, I would say, odd, and it's a bit weird, is because you really have to adjust yourself. You have to adapt yourself, is because there are other patients, or there are other elderly that they're not very comfortable whenever you change their diapers, you change their clothing. Especially I am a man, and if there's no available female caregiver, then you must really need to do the task if it's very urgent. Say for instance, the bed is soaked in their urine and any fluids, and also if it really needs to change their diapers, then you really have to do it. I really had to do it. So of course you must really give them a focus in what you're doing, focus on the job, that this is your job and that this is the part wherein you have to really change them. So first of all, the woman, I mean the elderly that I'm taking care of, or the room that I went into, she was a principal of well, her profile was a principal of high school before. So eventually she's a bit strict, plus she is a dementia patient. So she was really strict that I don't like you, I don't need you, I don't want to be a man touching my body. So of course she was like screaming. So of course what I just did, which if it was actually tackled when I was learning caregiving, was when I was training for caregiving. What I did is that you just need to be patient. Number one is you just need to be patient. In Tagalog, pasensya nyo. So in patient, second, you have to gain their trust. So you talk to them that what happened. You have to give them a very calm voice. You have to show them that you're willing to care. As soon as you get their trust while you're talking to them, then ask them in a proper way. Would you like me to change your clothes? We need to change your clothes is because it's wet. We need to change your diapers is because it's necessary. So if they're very hesitant, give them another break. give them at least 5 minutes to, just to calm their self down. So as soon as, again, you need to give them you need to give full attention, you need to get their trust. And once you get that, then definitely you'll get the confidence of doing everything that they do have. It's really different whenever it's an opposite sex. But again, trust, compassionate, being compassionate about it, then pretty much it's going to be very easy for you in the other days or the later days
You
once you
know,
get.
Angelo, I thank you so much for sharing with us that example, because you're just giving us a great example of how even a dementia person feels so
Indeed.
how, what would be a best word, so degraded by the situation, and having even a man touching her seems so difficult for her,
Yes.
so degrading. And by you talking to her and allowing her to make the decision, okay, that she will allow you, okay, so she's participating in the decision, and that gives her some sense of control over such such a difficult situation, right? When a person loses control, that's the most stressful experience. So by
Yes.
allowing her to, I'll come back in 5 minutes and I'll ask you again, like you said, and you're giving her a sense of control of the situation and respecting her opinion and giving her the time to adjust. All of that is just, wow, you're such a professional. Good for you. All of those skills are going to be needed in
Thank
your
you.
job ahead. And thank you for sharing that. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. I just want to share with all of you that I had an aunt. She's not with us anymore, but she was 103 and she was bedridden for a very long time at home. And we had a woman caregiver come and stay with her. And she was very, very aggressive and did not cooperate with this woman caregiver at all. And that that was very uncomfortable for everybody. And in the end, we said, okay, we have to put her in a facility, in a home. And in the home, most of the caregivers were men. And to our surprise, she was so cooperative. She liked being touched and cared for by men. So, you never know. Really, you don't know what will allow a person to feel comfortable, safe, content, and so on. And so, thank you for sharing that, Angela. Would anyone else like to ask a question or share something from their experience? If not, let's take a 5-minute break, everyone, and then we continue to some more important subjects to talk about. 5 minutes, everyone, and we'll be
Thank
back.